Hello everyone, my name is Vanessa and the name of this channel is called Gnostic Knowledge, and what I am doing on this channel is sharing the knowledge of gematria via two books written by Zachary Hubbard. The first book, Letters and Numbers, I've completed reading that book on this channel, and you can go back and visit the videos from chapter 1 up to chapter 22, and I am continuing sharing the knowledge of gematria in his latest book, Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus. And this is the book here. And this is the man who wrote the book, Zachary Hubbard. Hopefully you can see his picture well enough. Gematria is the encoding of numbers within our letters and words. Every word we speak has a numerical value, and that is what Zachary Hubbard's books are about, gematria. And the more you read about gematria, the more you will begin to see clearly how this alphanumeric code works. And at the end of my reading, I will tell you how to get both of Zachary Hubbard's books. Before I begin reading in chapter 15, I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers that helped me get over 1,000 subs. It is just really nice. And so now my community page has been unlocked as of today, so I can start sharing stuff on there. And I will think of things to do as time goes on. Hopefully Zach will write another book. But if not, I would definitely I'll think of something to do. Maybe read his blogs on here after I go ahead and learn how to use OBS, and I'll share the screen with that information. So, but anyway, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. You know, made my day today. It's just really nice. So, moving right along, I am reading in chapter 15 out of Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus, and it is entitled Super Bowl 54, the Kansas City Chiefs and Coronavirus. All right, and here we go. 2020, the year of Super Bowl 54, was 54 years after the Church of Satan was founded in San Francisco, having been established in 1966, the season of the first Super Bowl. And I wanted to point out this page starts on page 213. Well, on my computer anyway. But in 213 is death in the satanic cipher. So yeah, all of these ciphers are relevant, regardless if people think you can just make up any number you want. You can't. All of these ciphers, you only need the 4 base ciphers to see everything that is taking place, you know, but all of these ciphers are very well thought out and put together so that they work in unison with each other and whatever riddle these people are putting forth. Anyway, moving right along. Let me just start this this chapter over. 2020, the year of Super Bowl 54, was 54 years after the Church of Satan was founded in San Francisco, having been established in 1966, the season of the first Super Bowl. I bring this up because San Francisco is the home of the 49ers, the team who lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 54, and because I haven't checked on anyone's amnesia lately. As a reminder, Jesuit order equates to 54 in Pythagorean gematria, and sun, S-U-N, equates to 54 with simple English. If you want to get more technical, in alchemy, the sun represents gold, and the San Francisco 49ers are named after the 1849 gold rush. For another 54, it is the name Joe Montana, equating with reverse Pythagorean, who went to Notre Dame, a Catholic school. And I bring up his name because Super Bowl 54 had much to do with Joe Montana, considered one of the greatest NFL quarterbacks ever. The connection to Super Bowl 54 and Joe Montana was created by the fact the two teams he played for in his NFL career, the 49ers and the Chiefs, were facing each other. It was an easy riddle to solve, largely because Montana wore the number 16 for the 49ers, who he won Super Bowl 16 with, and he wore the number 19 for the Chiefs, who went on to win Super Bowl 54, concluding the 2019-20 season. Emphasis on 19. Never mind, Kansas City equates to 67, the 19th prime number. And it was only fitting then that the Super Bowl came 54 days after Joe Burrow's December 10th, 2019 birthday, another Joe, who won the college football championship with the LSU Tigers, defeating the Clemson Tigers on January 13th, 2020, in the Battle of the Tigers, in a year that would become even more about Tigers, with hit shows like Tiger King. Oh my God. And a year where Joe Burrow would become the #1 overall pick by the Cincinnati Bengals, another Tiger, okay, who Joe Montana defeated twice in Super Bowls 16 and 23, two numbers adding to 39, like the 39 gematria values of Montana, Bengals, Tigers, and Masonry. Let us not forget, the 2020 NFL Draft was the first ever draft where all the players being selected stayed home because of the coronavirus, as opposed to meeting in a large building and walking across a stage and shaking someone's hand, while fans either cheered or booed the selection, what typically occurs at the event. And getting back to 54, I should note LSU won the championship in their own backyard in New Orleans, equating to 54 with reverse Pythagorean on a date with 54 numerology, January 13th, 2020, and you would add 1 plus 13 plus 20 plus 20 equates to 54. Adding to the list, Super Bowl 54 was played on February 2nd, 2020, a span of 54 days from Nancy Pelosi's March 26th birthday, the Speaker of the House in 2020, a Catholic who calls San Francisco home, the city named after Saint Francis of Assisi, the same as Pope Francis. The symbolism in this distance in days was observed through the riddle of the Kansas City Commander-in-Chief's defeating Pelosi's San Francisco 49ers 3 days before Donald Trump defeated the impeachment brought on by Pelosi on February 5th, 2020, a date that can be expressed as 25 like 25 and having 47 numerology, both numbers corresponding with the gematria of Trump and time. And never mind that Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback of the Chiefs, went to White House High School in Texas, or that the Super Bowl was 138 days after his September 17th, 2019 birthday, corresponding with the simple English value of Donald Trump. To make a long story short, it was all a ritual and even synced with the 2019 World Series, where the Washington Nationals won the championship on October 30th, 2019, precisely 138 days after Donald Trump's birthday, corresponding with the gematria of Nationals, Donald Trump and Dave Martinez, the latter being the manager of the team, and each equating to 138. It was on that same day the impeachment process against Donald Trump was brought out from behind closed doors by Nancy Pelosi, a ritual we discussed earlier. It was one of many that are a part of an ongoing circus of number games that bring together professionally rigged sports and professionally rigged politics, things that should be so obvious, especially after rituals such as September 11, 2001, the Patriot Act, and the New England Patriots. Yet somehow so few see the obvious. As for how the Nationals World Series and impeachment came together in numbers, impeachment and Washington Nationals both equate to 107 with our base ciphers. And for your list, baseball sums to 54 in 2 of the 4 base ciphers with simple English and reverse Pythagorean. And if you don't already know, there are 54 outs in a complete baseball game, a game that is not as much about time as it is about counting. Regarding counting, the Nationals threw 159 pitches in Game 7, winning the 115th World Series 138 days after Trump's birthday, who won the election and took office with the 115th U.S. Congress. And while Donald Trump sums to 138 with simple English, his name sums to 159 with reverse simple, the latter value being the same as Scottish Rite. And adding insult to injury, on the same night the Washington, D.C. baseball team, the Nationals, beat the Houston Astros with 159 pitches to win the World Series. The Washington, D.C. basketball team, the Wizards, lost in D.C. to the Houston Rockets with a score of 159 to 158 in a thrilling comeback by the Rockets. If you're asking how these things can be so exact, the answer is technology and counting, old tricks of the magician. Adding to the riddle of the basketball game was that Mike D'Antoni, the coach of the Houston Rockets, earned his 631st regular season win in that game, the 115th prime number, corresponding with the 115th World Series. Better yet, using simple English, his name, Mike D'Antoni, sums to 115, proving that his entire multi-decade career was scripted up to that moment, and reminding us how sports announcers always repeat, you couldn't have scripted it any better. My God, that just makes me cringe every time I hear it, because yes, I've heard that so many times. I used to watch sports. Oh my goodness, it's crazy. I repeat, they are not kidding. You couldn't have scripted it any better. They are not kidding. For years, we've been calling games and championships correctly, as well as news stories, long in advance, and showing how these same types of riddles and patterns play out day after day, season after season, and year after year. Once you learn the code, and there is a code, once you learn the code, you'll be amazed, but you'll also come to understand the patterns are the most broken record there ever was. Absolutely. For one more on the 115th World Series. Recall the number connecting the 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite and the Jesuits who established Georgetown in D.C. is 115 through the motto Ad Majorem Dei Gloriam, equating to 115 with reverse Pythagorean. I bring this up because the Nationals gave the Houston Astros their 57th postseason loss by winning Game 7, and in gematria, Nationals, World Series, Dave Martinez, Scottish Rite, and Georgetown each equate to 57. I mean, that is just crazy. I bring this up because the Nationals gave the Houston Astros their 57th postseason loss by winning Game 7, and in gematria, Nationals, World Series, Dave Martinez, Scottish Rite, and Georgetown each equate to 57, a number that comes up with sports championships, college and pro, season after season. Case in point, Vanderbilt won the College World Series in June of 2019, just before the Nationals' big win, and their manager, Tim Corbin, was 57 years old at the time. This should remind you that George Washington, in the land of the Jesuits and Scottish Rite, Washington, D.C., became the first recognized president at age 57. And I think I read that wrong. This should remind you that George Washington, in the land of the Jesuits and Scottish Rite, Washington, D.C., George Washington became the first recognized president at age 57, and how Georgetown, equating to 57, was established in 1789, the year George Washington turned 57. For one more For one last thought on the number, and with regards to all things being about time, moon sums to 57 with simple English, and as you know, the moon has a 19-year pattern with the Gregorian calendar, and 57 is divisible by 19 three times. And last, I'd be amiss if I didn't let you know Game 7 of the World Series was won by the Nationals 6-2 on October 30th, the day leaving 62 days left, by defeating the team from Houston, Texas, summing to 62 with reverse Pythagorean. Keep in mind, that same MLB season began with the other team from Washington winning the first game of the year, the Seattle Mariners, summing to 62 with Pythagorean, a game played in Japan where Ichiro, summing to 62 with simple English, the longtime Japanese star of the Mariners, would announce days later he was retiring. And for the record, we called it right then that the World Series would go to Game 7, the day leaving 62 days in the year, because year after year it is the same types of rituals paying tribute to certain numbers that spell out what's to come. If you want to keep going, the Mariners won the season opening game 9-7, and both Mariners and Athletics summed to 97 with simple English. If you want to go even further, Oakland Athletics sums to 97 with reverse Pythagorean. Even further, it was played on March 20th, 2019, the 79th day of the year. And to bring us back to where we started, the first two games of the 2019 MLB season were both played between the Mariners and the Athletics in Japan, and the Mariners won the second game with a score of 5-4, a lot like 54, starting off their season 2-0 before eventually improving to 12-2 by beating Kansas City, summing to 122 with simple English, the same as San Francisco, and reminding us that both Seattle and San Francisco are on the 122nd Meridian West, and that the Kansas City Chiefs would go on to beat the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 54, the 50th of the modern era, where the Chiefs would win the big game for the first time in 50 years, and where Chiefs summed to 50 with simple English, and San Francisco, who hosted Super Bowl 50, sums to 50 with Pythagorean. My goodness. And of course, this came right after the other Washington team, the Nationals, had won the World Series, where Washington equates to 50 with reverse Pythagorean, and America sums to 50 with simple English, the same as Donald, the man and president who was perfectly synced with both rituals. And for the person who fears I am only going after Trump, it wasn't an accident. The Chicago Blackhawks became the cream of the NHL after Barry O accepted the presidency from Chicago. On the subject of U.S. presidents and rigged sports, I should also let you know how I called the outcome of the 115th World Series, Nationals over Astros in Game 7, over a month in advance, based off what transpired on September 27th, 2019, the anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by the Roman Catholic Church in a game between the Washington Nationals and the Cleveland Indians. The riddle had everything to do with Skull and Bones, and an old story about Prescott Bush, a Washington man, like the Nationals, and the father of George H.W. Bush. Okay, let me start that over because I think I missed something here. Okay, the riddle had everything to do with Skull and Bones, and an old story about Prescott Bush, a Washington man, likes the Nationals, and the father of George H.W. Bush, who became a U.S. Senator years after stealing the skull of Geronimo for Yale's fraternity when he was a member. For starters, from the anniversary of the death of Geronimo, who passed February 17, 1909, to the September 27th game of the Nationals hosting the Cleveland Indians was a span of 223 days, the 48th prime number, corresponding with the gematria of Cleveland, equating to 48 and making it easy to see that the Nationals would pick up their 48th home win in the September 27th game on the 48 date numerology, similar to how they would pick up their 49th and 50th home wins over the course of the next 2 days on 49 and 50 date numerology, also corresponding with the gematria of Washington. Furthermore, the manager of the Nationals, Dave Martinez, was coaching his 322nd game on September 27th, and he came in with 149 losses, corresponding with the simple English gematria of skull and bones, equating to 149, which is the 35th prime, corresponding with Catholic. When I identified this ritual, it took me back to April 20th, 2019, and a game between the Texas Rangers and Houston Astros, where I predicted the Rangers, who were severe underdogs, would beat the Astros and improve to 11-8 overall and 9-4 at home, which they did, winning the game 9-4. I knew this was going to transpire because George Herbert Walker Bush equates to 118 with Pythagorean gematria, and he had just died at 94, November 30th, 2018, before the start of the MLB season. Plus, he had history with the ownership of those two prospective teams. Keep in mind, the game was on the 110th day of the year, and President sums to 110. Also, for your learning, when you write out skull and bones, it equates to 41, and when you write out 41 as words, it equates to 118, similar to how ossuary equates to 118, and skull and bones gets their symbolism from an ossuary, what the Knights Templar of the church would use to bury their dead in the time of the Crusades. Oh my goodness. And let us not forget that H.W. was the 41st president. Thus, because the Nationals won in a skull and bones ritual and the Astros lost, the riddle was clear to see and very lucrative. And please keep in mind, I did take the time to decode every single game in the 2019 MLB season, giving me the opportunity to unlock the riddle that did come, meaning the hard work eventually paid off, literally and in a very big way. Absolutely. I really could go on all day about presidents, sports, news, and more, but instead I'll transition to the most important thing you need to know about Super Bowl 54, and that is what Andy Reid accomplished, the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, who earned his 222nd win in the NFL on the date written 2/2/2020, and precisely 222 weeks after the Kansas City Royals defeated the New York Mets in the 111th World Series on November 1st, 2015, a date that can be written 11/1, like 111. Oh my goodness. Factoring in with the riddle linking the Kansas City Chiefs and Kansas City Royals, it was reported on July 28, 2020, that Patrick Mahomes became a part owner of the Kansas City Royals exactly 45 weeks after his September 17, 2019 birthday, corresponding with the gematria of Major League, equating to 45 with Pythagorean. Keep in mind, 45 is the 9th triangular number, and baseball is a game of 9 innings. Furthermore, the date the date Mahomes became a part owner of the Royals was also 177 days after Super Bowl 54, where the Jesuit order equates to 177, and Jesuit order alone equates to 54. And continuing with the patterns of twos, the Chiefs picked up their second Super Bowl win, and the 49ers earned their second Super Bowl loss in what was the second ever Super Bowl played on the 33rd day of the year. Keep in mind, it was just days before Super Bowl 54 was played that Donald Trump appeared at the World Economic Forum, equating to 222 on his, Donald Trump's, on his 222nd day of his age, gloating about his trade deal with China. At the same time, Wuhan coronavirus, equating to 222, was being confirmed in the United States. And in light of the Kansas City Royals beating the New York Mets in the 111th World Series, 222 weeks before the Chiefs' Super Bowl 54 win, let us not forget that, from the attack on New York on September 11, 2001, the day leaving 111 days in the year, to the coronavirus pandemic declared March 11, 2020 was 222 months later. I should also note February 2nd, written as words, February 2nd sums to 222 with reverse simple English, the date of the Super Bowl 54 and Andy Reid's 222nd win. And yes, it truly is all one interrelated ritual, and it's a form of spell casting. As we learned, 2 is a number that can be used to symbolize division and taking apart, and that is what 2020 was much about in terms of the controllers' agenda. The same controllers who own sports teams and leagues of the world that are used symbolically year after year in rituals such as this. For one more point on Andy Reid, Super Bowl 54 was his 122nd game coached with the Kansas City Chiefs. And as we covered earlier, both Kansas City and San Francisco sum to 122 with simple English, whereas Satanic sums to 122 with reverse simple English. Of the 122 games Andy Reid had coached, of the 122 games, Andy Reid had coached 112 in the regular season and 10 in the playoffs, with the 10th being Super Bowl 54. Keep in mind, Satan sums to 10 with Pythagorean, and regarding to the 112 regular season games, Chiefs sums to 112 with reverse simple English, the same as Super Bowl. Let us not forget the 112 countries the Jesuits operate in, or the 112th connection to Catholicism. Wow. Since we brought up the 111th World Series, we might as well revisit the ritual that all but ended the championship series on November 1st, or 11/1, like 111, because it further proves how scripted these games are. To take you back in time, Eric Hosmer, Hosmer, Eric Hosmer stepped up to the plate in the top of the 9th inning, and the stat was displayed on the screen that Hosmer had a .111 batting average for the 111th World Series, fittingly on Matt Harvey's 111th pitch of the game. Hosmer nailed a line drive in the gap, driving in a run and giving the Royals their first score of the game. Matt Harvey was then pulled with 111 pitches on 11-1 in the 111th World Series. From there, the Royals would go on to win the game 7-2. and fittingly Royals sums to 72. As you will learn, it is the same type of obvious rituals that take place season after season in all of professional sports, and before long you will be calling the outcomes of the games before they happen, just as I called the Mets to be in the 111th World Series in spring training of that season, reminding that Matt Damon's line from the film The Informant, where he explains the obvious math behind the World Series being rigged before spring training begins, which marks the start of the baseball season. Also important, Dave Henderson, a former star of the New York Mets, died at age 57. Wow. Exactly 57 days after the World Series concluded, passing away on December 27, 2015. As we have just learned, World Series sums to 57, and in this case, so do Mets and New York Mets. Wow. Back on the subject of Super Bowl 54, another ritual worth recognizing is how Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, became the 33rd quarterback to win a Super Bowl in only the second ever Super Bowl played on the 33rd day of the year. This is fitting because the name Patrick sums to 33 with Pythagorean gematria. Furthermore, his full name, Patrick LaVon Mahomes II, sums to 333 with reverse simple, and February 2nd, 2020, fell in a leap year, meaning there were 333 days left in the year on that date as well. For another 3, he became the third black quarterback to win a Super Bowl. The first was Doug Williams with the Washington Redskins, who won Super Bowl 22 with a score of 42-10. The second was Russell Wilson, who won Super Bowl 48, 43-8, the only other Super Bowl ever played on the 33rd day of the year. What brings these rituals together is the number 42, where Doug Williams scored 42 points after throwing 4 touchdowns in the second quarter, 4-2. And then Russell Wilson, representing the 42nd state, Washington, brought the championship home for Seattle. Adding to the pattern, Patrick Mahomes won the big game after throwing exactly 42 passes, a number coded all over black history. As you might be aware, Jackie Robinson wore number 42 and is credited with breaking the color barrier in MLB in the year of 1947. Not by chance, the name Jackie, Jackie, the name Jackie sums to 42, and so do many words pertaining to black history, starting with February, the month that is referred to as Black History Month. Adding to that list is slavery, Tuskegee, nigger, brothers, bus, Martin, Malcolm X. Malcolm X. Malcolm X sums to 42. Muhammad Ali, 42, of course. Huxtable, Cosby Show, LeBron James, and more. The next time you watch the sitcom Martin, you won't miss that he lives in apartment number 42. And I've seen it, and I love that show, and I did go back to see. Yeah, he lives in apartment 40 freaking 2. Like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Oh my God, this just gives me a headache. Okay, and if you want to rewind, the clock, Jackie Robinson wasn't actually the first black baseball player in white major league. It was Moses Walker, summing to 42 with Pythagorean gematria, who played in exactly 42 games. For another recent example, look no further than the Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder fight of February 22nd, 2020, or 2/22/2020. In that fight, in Black History Month, the white fighter Tyson Fury defeated the black fighter Deontay Wilder in what looked like a fight where Deontay was told to lay down, and he probably freaking was. I'm sure it was. Oh my God. Of course, the fight was easy to call in advance because Wilder came in with 42 wins, and Tyson, Tyson, Tyson sums to 42, the name of his opponent, reminding us of the 42-1 fight where Buster Douglas upset Mike Tyson on February 11th, 1990, the 42nd day of the year, 30 years earlier. And the 30 years earlier mattered too because all of these words sum to 30 and 42. They are slavery, Tuskegee, and nigger. In this case, the name Deontay sums to 30 with Pythagorean as well, and it was crystal clear that Tyson Fury would be picking up his 30th win as a white man beating a black man in Black History Month, again leaving Wilder on 42 career wins. And this is some freaking BS, but oh my goodness gracious, sure enough he did for one more 42. In February 2020, the 56th and final themed America the Beautiful quarter. Okay, for one more 42. In February of 2021, the 56th and the final themed America the Beautiful quarter is being released. That's right, a quarter, a 25-cent quarter that we can spin, is being released, and it is in tribute to the Tuskegee Airmen, and I've seen that quarter. It also shows two planes, one with a 4 and the other with a 2. The math is simple on that one. Absolutely. This stuff is just so ridiculous. I hate it so much. But, I'm just glad to know it. I'm just so happy to know this information. It's just, oh my God, it just makes me so angry. But, it's a relief at the same time. Because, I know all this shit has just been a lie. All of it. Alrighty. In addition to the number 42, the second parallel between the three black quarterbacks winning Super Bowls with the Redskins, Seahawks, and Chiefs is that they are the only three teams in the NFL with clear Native American symbolism, and I wonder why. The Redskins and Chiefs don't need explanation, but the Seahawks might. If you're not aware, Seattle is named after Chief Seattle, a Native American, and the Seattle Seahawks logo comes from the Loca. And if I butcher this name, I'm terribly sorry, but I shall spell it first. This is okay. And the Seattle Seahawks logo comes from the local KWAKWAKAWAKW tribe. So I am terribly sorry, but I can't pronounce that. I'm gonna try though. Quacka Wak tribe. Okay. Sorry if I butchered that, but. So, moving right along. Thus, it appears the controllers of the NFL are trying to tell us something about Native American history, and perhaps what they are attempting to say is that long before African slaves arrived here, there were already Africans who had likely come to the continent in advance, and very possibly by their own ships that they had constructed and sailed with, since Africa was a very advanced continent from a time in history that is nearly all but forgotten outside of the pyramids. And let us not forget ancient Egypt and the 42 laws of Maat. With this in mind, consider Native American sums to 64 with Pythagorean gematria, the same as Kansas City Chiefs, and the day they won Super Bowl 54 was precisely 64 weeks after Patrick Mahomes beat Len Dawson's 1964 Kansas City Chiefs touchdown passing record. That accomplishment occurred November 11, 2018, and it should be noted that the same day Mahomes beat Dawson's record, Mahomes' girlfriend was watching in the stands next to her father, who dropped dead at the game. What the fuck? Oh my God. Of course, the word kill has gematria of 64. And on the subject of the number, Doug Williams had turned 64 years of age August 9th, 2019, 177 days before Super Bowl 54, the latter number connecting to the Jesuit order. My God. For one more fact about 64, the Chiefs have now played in 3 Super Bowls, losing Super Bowl 1 by a score of 10-35, winning Super Bowl 4 by a score of 23-7, and winning Super Bowl LIV 31-20. My goodness, so that would be what, 54. If you add, Super Bowl 54, Super Bowl LIV is 54. Okay, if you add it up, the Chiefs have scored 64 points in Super Bowls and had 62 scored against them. Not by chance. If you write out 49ers as words, the name of their last opponent, it has Pythagorean gematria of 64 and reverse Pythagorean gematria of 62. This stuff is insane. For a bit more gematria fun, 49ers sums to 163 with simple English, which is the 38th prime number, corresponding with a simple value of gold, and reminding us that the 49ers hosted the golden anniversary of the Super Bowl 50 on February 7, 2016, the 38th day of the year, only for it to be won by the 38th state, Colorado, equating to 38 with Pythagorean gematria, who defeated the Panthers, summing to 38 in the same cipher. It also reminds us that it was the 38th President Gerald Ford who ended FDR's orders, effectively allowing Americans to buy gold again legally. With regards to the Chiefs' most recent score in Super Bowl 54, winning 31-20, there must be something else said about this. Number 20 for the Chiefs, Morris Claiborne, was reported to be having Super Bowl 54 blues because not long before it, his brother had unexpectedly died at age 31 on January 5th, 2020. Thus, 31 and 20, a sum of 51, and his brother had died on a date that can be written 5-1. Keep in mind, death sums to 20 in Pythagorean gematria, and that Morris Claiborne played his college football for the LSU Tigers, summing to 113 with simple English, who won the college championship over the Clemson Tigers 8 days later, January 13th, or 1/13113. The distance of 8 days matters as well because 19 is the 8th prime number, and the football championships at the start of 2020 for college and pro were for the 2019 season, emphasis on 19. Regarding the 2020 college football championship, if you watched the game, you might have caught the announcer's numerology lesson as he put it, while accusing the people of New Orleans of being into those things, meaning numerology, in the fourth quarter when LSU had all but won the game. The lesson was on the number 20 in regards to the death of Billy Cannon on May 20th, 2018. If you missed it, the announcer first pointed out that in 1959, Billy Cannon, summing to 59, the same as LSU Tigers, and even Tiger alone, won the Heisman with LSU and defeated Clemson in the college championship that was played in New Orleans, very similar to how in 2020 Joe Burrow of LSU became the second player from the school to win the Heisman, the highest honors in all of college football, and to defeat Clemson in the championship in New Orleans. Beyond that, the announcer pointed out with 10 minutes, 10 seconds to play in 2020, how Billy Cannon wore the number 20, and how history was repeating itself about 60 years later, which was divisible by 20 in 2020, when he had just died in recent history at age 80, another number divisible by 20 on May 20th, 2018. Keep in mind, if you were watching and listening, the first down marker was set at the 20-yard line during the numerology lesson, and the camera crew went to an angle that captured Joe Burrow with an orange sign in the background next to his head with the number 20 on it. The only thing the announcer forgot to tell the audience was that Joe Burrow had transferred from Ohio State to LSU on May 20th, 2018, the same day Billy Cannon died, and that in gematria terms, LSU equates to 20 with reverse Pythagorean, whereas death and time equate to 20 with Pythagorean. Personally, I was so provoked by this incident, I traveled to LSU's campus in January of 2020 to educate the students of LSU about this. And as we'll get to, it was a beautiful thing that I'll discuss more in the last chapter. Absolutely. This is crazy. Coming back to the ritual of Super Bowl 54, on July 3rd, 2020, the last day before the United States' 244th birthday, it was reported that the Washington Redskins and the Cleveland Indians were thinking about changing their names in the wake of the Black Lives Matter protests and the extra attention brought to racism with them. Since the United States of America was technically still 243 years old on this date, it is worth noting that Native American sums to 243 with reverse simple English. This wasn't the first time the two teams from the NFL and MLB were used in rituals either. For another recent example, on Christopher Columbus Day, October 8th, 2018, a date with 56 numerology, the Saints wasted the Redskins on Monday Night Football 43-19. And in the MLB, the Indians and the Braves, the two teams with the native symbolism, were eliminated from the postseason the same day. In addition to these native teams all losing on the day to remember Columbus, the man who was paid for by the Catholic Church to voyage the world and who is falsely credited with the discovery of America, a land where people lived long before he arrived, they were all shamed by the numbers as well. Consider the Braves lost to the Dodgers 6-2, going with 62 points scored in the Monday Night Football game, corresponding with the simple English gematria of genocide, summing to 62. And the Indians were creamed by the Astros 11-3, the team who had won the 113th World Series over the Dodgers a year earlier. That was the one given away by Matt Harvey, being the first pitcher to pitch in Houston after the flooding of Hurricane and Tropical Storm Harvey 52 days before the start of the World Series, where flood and hurricane both equate to 52. It is to say it's all number games, and that is why A.J. Hinch, the manager of the Houston Astros, who won the 113th World Series, was fired on January 13th, or 1/13/113, and the following day, January 14th, or 1/14. Alex Cora, who won the 114th World Series, met the same fate because he was part of the cheating Houston Astros team from the year prior. Oh my God. And please realize there is no cheating when all these games are 100% and undeniably fixed. Absolutely. This stuff is just, oh my God. It should also be noted that the potential it should also be noted that the potential name change news for the Redskins and Indians came on July 3rd, a date that can be expressed as 73 like 73, and Doug Williams, the first black QB to win a Super Bowl who accomplished this with the Redskins, has a full name, Douglas Lee Williams, equating to 73 with Pythagorean. Furthermore, the date July 3rd can be expressed as 37 like 37, and the announcement came 37 days before Doug Williams' August 9th birthday, corresponding with the gematria of native, equating to 37, the same as Zachary, the Louisiana town where he was raised, reminding us what state won the college championship to begin 2020. Wow. Adding insult to injury, July 3rd leaves 181 days left in the year, the 42nd prime number, bringing us back to square one. And with that fact in mind, they are debating changing the name of the They're considering changing the name to the Washington Red Tails in tribute to the Tuskegee Airmen. While it seems nice, it is truly sick, and if it eventually happens, expect another book about it, because I have a lot more to say on the subject matter. For the time being, as of July 23rd, 2020, they have changed the name to Washington Football Team, where the new nickname equates to 122, the same as National Football League, as well as Kansas City and San Francisco, who just faced each other in Super Bowl 54. Adding to the ritual, Redskins, the old name equates to 54, and the temporary name change came 172 days after Super Bowl 54, where 172 corresponds with the Jesuit motto, Ad Maiorem Dei Gloriam, a motto also summing to 100 with Pythagorean, reminding us that Super Bowl 54 concluded the 100th NFL season. For one last ritual, on July 6, 2020, a few days after the Redskins and Indians' potential name change announcement, Patrick Mahomes signed a new contract worth reportedly over $400 million, replacing Russell Wilson, the Seahawks quarterback, as the highest paid player in the National Football League. Not by chance, the date July 6th can be expressed as 7-6, reminding of Acts 7, chapter 7, verse 6, Acts 7:6, and the prophecy of people being mistreated as slaves for 400 years in a foreign land, tying in with the $400 million headlines. Of course, August 20th, 2019 marked 400 years since slaves arrived in America, and the 100th NFL season that Mahomes won began days later. It was for this reason ESPN called the 100th NFL season that concluded with the Chiefs championship the year of the black quarterback. This prediction by the 54 network ESPN was made prior to the season beginning and prior to Kyler Murray, a rookie black quarterback, winning the NFL's Rookie Offensive Player of the Year award, and Lamar Jackson, a black quarterback, winning league MVP, and Patrick Mahomes, a black quarterback, winning Super Bowl MVP. Keep in mind, African American sums to 100, like keeping it 100. Boy, these bastards give us every fucking thing, you son of a effers. Oh my God. Let me start that over. Okay, keep in mind, African American sums to 100 with reverse Pythagorean coinciding with the 100th NFL season. Furthermore, it sums to 71 with Pythagorean, the 20th prime. And all of these awards were given at the start of 2020, including the top honors to Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes on the first and second day of Black History Month, respectively. For another riddle, this $400 million contract came 5 months and 4 days after Super Bowl 54, a game that was played on February 2nd. The signing of the contract also came 293 days after Patrick Mahomes' September 17th, 2019 birthday, which is the 62nd prime number. And with Pythagorean gematria, Patrick Mahomes sums to 62, same as 400 written as words, and similar to 49ers written as words, also equating to 62, and reminding us that the Chiefs have allowed 62 points to be scored against them in Super Bowls after holding the 49ers to 20 points in the 2020 Super Bowl, meaning that the Chiefs had allowed 42 points coming into the game. As you have learned, genocide sums to 62, and there is symbolism with that to think about in light of the native team having that many points scored against them in Super Bowls to start 2020, the year of the deadly virus, but not as deadly as the smallpox that wiped out Native Americans. Back on the subject of the contract. It also came on a date that can be expressed as 6-7, like 67, and Kansas City equates to 67 with reverse Pythagorean. Furthermore, July 6th is the 187th day of the year, of the Gregorian year, and Society of Jesus sums to 187, reminding us who is in charge of these rituals. With the Jesuits in mind, Super Bowl 54 was won by Patrick Mahomes 177 days after Doug Williams' 64th birthday, and the Jesuit order equates to 177, reminding us that Jesuit order equates to 54, just like Joe Montana, the good Catholic, who Super Bowl 54 was in tribute to, coming a span of 131 days from his 64th birthday on June 11, 2020, having been born in 56. For the record, both championship and Super Bowl equate to 131 with simple English, which is the 32nd prime number, reminding us that the NFL has 32 teams, and NFL, America, and Scottish each equate to 32, matching the number of sun rays on the Jesuit logo. To add to your list, both Kansas City and Chiefs sum to 32 with Pythagorean, and never forget the date 7/4/1776. When you add it together, 7 plus 4 plus 1 plus 7 plus 7 plus 6, that equates to 32. And with that said, I am going to end my reading here. I am on page 226, and that is where I will begin the next chapter in this reading, hopefully within about an hour or so. But as I mentioned, I wanted to tell you guys how to get the books written by Zachary K. Hubbard. So, I know I'm looking at the wrong thing, but I'm trying to close some stuff over here. But anywho, the book Letters and Numbers. You can get this book by visiting Zachary K. Hubbard's YouTube channels, Gematria Effect News or Gematria Effect Sports. In the description of each of the videos that he produces, he leaves a link for you to purchase the book. The book only costs $5, the best $5 you'll ever spend, because the information that he has provided to the public, you won't get this information anywhere else. I mean, nowhere else. This book is going to come to you via email as a PDF file, so be sure to save the PDF file to the hard drive of your phone, computer, laptop, tablet, what have you, so you'll always have access to it. He left the copyright off the book Letters and Numbers so that you can take it to your local bindery and have it bound into a book for your own personal library. You can upload it to lulu.com, and they will bind it into a book for you for less than $30 and mail it back to you as well. His second book, Number Games, 9/11 to Coronavirus. This book is available on Amazon, but apparently it is out of stock right now, but still keep checking. If you don't want to order it from Amazon, you can also order it from Zachary K. Hubbard directly by visiting his blog page, gematria-effect-news.blogspot.com. And the very first thing you'll see as you arrive at his blog page is the advertising for this book, and as you scroll down, it gives you the instructions and information on how to purchase this book within the United States and abroad. And with that said, make sure you get his books. They're worth it. The information is priceless in my view. Make sure you read Zachary K. Hubbard's blogs. On gematriaeffectnews.blogspot.com. He blogs every single day. He has a previous blog called Free to Find Truth, where he had been blogging there for over 5 years. So there is a massive amount of content there for you to read and familiarize yourself with what gematria is and how it is truly being used. With that said, you guys enjoy your evening, and I will be back sometime later. Maybe even later today, to continue reading in chapter 15. And thanks again for helping me reach 1,000 subs. I really appreciate it. Thank you.